You're like, even on this angle, look like a fucking dwarf. Okay, I'll fix that. You have a box? Ah, see, you look like normal height now. Oh, there you go. Now we're gonna see how far we can go on this before people are like, oh, what the fuck? You were short as hell in the last one. Alright, let's just roll through it. Okay. What's going on, guys? My name is Chris, and this is Regular Guy Training. With me, I have yet again.
I'm Josh.
Aha. So, today we're going to talk about the Glock 26, and we're going to go ahead and do a review on that. Now, I bought it as like a summertime dress down type gun, because in like the winter and stuff, I can actually throw more stuff over or whatever, and just to be a little bit more comfortable and walking around day to day with just regular t-shirts when it's hot as crap and all that. You carried it as like your primary for a little while, right?
Yeah, actually, that was my first Glock I ever carried, purchased, whatever. I liked it a lot for a long time. Shot a lot of rounds through it, and then wanted a light. So,
yeah, and then over time, you just started running into, you know, really expensive friends that make you buy things all the time. I've never done that.
yeah.
So here it is, right? Ooh. This is the Gen 4 Glock 26. Yay! There's like little red scuffs on there because the holster I have is red, right? And this is actually a used gun, quote unquote used gun, because there were barely enough rounds for me to warrant calling it used. On this particular one, there's a couple of extended widgets. The first one is this guy, and that's like the little takedown lever. And the second one, which I know I'm not a fan of, and you're not really either.
I hate the thing.
Yeah, is this extended widget here. And that's mostly because like your grip keeps effing with it. You guys might have seen in the shoot footage it was going to slide lock. That's because his thumbs, like
it's the meat on my palm here.
Like his thumbs were just pushing the slide lock lever up.
Yeah, every time we recoil, just lock it.
So for those of you that get like undercuts on Glock 19s, like you discovered that after you cut yours.
Yeah, this is mine. Not a 26, but with the two cutouts, like much higher. And when I took your class, when I first did it, every single time, we thought it was mag related. Come to find out, it was that. So I went back to the factory one and whatever.
Yeah, issues went away.
Yeah.
But the thing is that with the 26, you get as high on it as you would with a gun like that. So you get like to the point where it's super high like that, and you can see where that's covered real easy. So just switching it over, I mean, just the meat on the palm is what messes with that. So, I mean, it's going to be what it's going to be. First and foremost, I'm just going to roll through the Glock 26 and just as is. Things I don't like about it first, because I actually do like this pistol, but I'm just going to cover the stuff that I don't.
Cool.
Hopefully this is being remedied by the Gen 5 guns, partially anyway, because I hear that there are sight options for it now. It comes with the standard Glock polymer sights, which are trash.
Yes.
I've never really seen those go through one of our classes without getting shifted or ripped off in some capacity.
Yeah.
Or mauled real bad too. So, I mean, you had a set of standard sights on your 19 for a little while, didn't you?
Yeah, and broke them right off.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, once we started doing one-handed stuff, it just...
Yeah, it's part of it.
Yeah.
Just get some metal ones.
Yeah, I mean, you brought somebody to the last set of pistol 1 and 2 classes that we did, and like she had her rear sight shoved all the way over to one side.
Yep.
So I hate those things, and that does kind of suck because right when you pick up the gun, you're already adding to the expense. Because if you're using it for like self-defense purposes or whatever, I highly recommend switching out those sights. And even if you go to like a set of Ameriglow fiber optic sights, that's like $45. This is a set of Trigicon HDs, and freaking that's like $100, or close to
right
it.
around 100.
Yeah, so I mean, right when you get to that point, you're now adding on to the original cost of the gun, and that's friggin', it sucks. It does.
It's part of it.
Yeah, the Gen 4 guns come with, is it a pair or 3 10-round magazines?
3 10 rounds.
3 10-round magazines. You guys can see on this particular guy, it's a 15-round magazine. It's a Glock 19 mag.
Yep.
I got it. Again, it's a second-hand gun. and it came with a single 10-round magazine that had like a +2 extension on it.
Yeah, not a fan.
Me neither, mostly because it's essentially the same size as a Glock 19 magazine, only it's more, there's more bulk to it.
Finger.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's the same size as that, only there's fewer bullets that go in it.
Yeah, it's only a +2 instead of getting the 5.
Exactly.
And then the actual spring.
Yeah.
When you first load it up, it's much weaker because you've extended it now.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that. And here's the thing too, is that like what's funny is that, well, the first thing that I'm going to get as a question is, well, why not just settle with a Glock 19 and you're good?
Yeah.
I mean, I get that for sure, but the fact that it is smaller up front, it does help, especially when you're carrying appendix as far as just like bending stuff. And even if you're carrying it as like a backup gun on an ankle, that's just less for like your pant legs to give away if you're sitting on a bar stool or whatever.
Right. Well, then I would download the 10-round magazine.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to get the small compact feature, you got the the 15-round mag.
And in addition, like a Glock 19 size magazine in there, okay, cool, you essentially have the same length.
Yeah.
But it's still skinnier around it, so it's just easier to not print as much because the rest of the Glock 19 frame isn't there.
Right.
So that you can say what you want to on that. Me personally, a lot of guys complain about like the size of the grip in relation to the skinny mags. And I understand where a lot of them are coming from because my pinky just kind of naturally sits there. But generally speaking, if I'm on a flush magazine, I just kind of shoot minus this pinky. I've shot like this on real small guns before where I'm just kind of shooting like that because I don't want to deal with that. And then on reloads, I'm getting the rest of my hand out of the way. And I do it with this one too because the last thing that I want to get is slammed on my own freaking thing. You might have seen it in the shoot footage, I'm not sure, but I just go straight into that when I'm doing a reload. So there's that. The trigger in it's very Glock-esque. It's a factory trigger.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about that.
We had a bunch of problems because both of our Glock 19s are wrecked. Yeah, they're very used guns.
Yes, they're very smooth.
Yeah, they're very, very used guns.
Yeah.
I'm kind of waiting on when my slide is getting ready to crack because I'm in the 50s as far as number of thousands of rounds. Yeah. Especially with me handing my gun to students and soldiers and stuff that come through classes. A lot of rounds have just been fired without me.
Yeah.
Tossed
on the ground, everything.
Yeah, and anytime that a dude comes through like a class or something that's like 2,400 rounds minimum, because that's 1 and 2, and if he does performance also, it's
a shit ton of rounds.
It's a lot because now it's an additional 1,400 rounds, so now we're at 3,800. Yeah. So it's a lot of rounds that are fired without me. So both of our 19s, they have factory triggers in them, but they're just used, really, really used. So like they're nice and polished up. You can see in some shoot footage that I'm going to show you now that dude, we were just having problems hitting things. And I'm going to go to that now.
Yeah, I was.
So as far as all that's concerned, I mean, yeah, there was a little bit of trouble dealing with the stock Glock trigger in there. After a while, we started getting accustomed to it, and I've been running this as like a primary concealed gun, so it makes perfect sense that I shot it a little better than he did. You're very like I'm using this gun all the time.
I'm very monotone.
Yeah.
This is the one. This is all I shoot.
Yeah.
You put anything, even another Glock 19 in my hands.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah, and you're used to going a certain speed too, so you're just yanking on that trigger, and the first few were in like the wrong zip code, low left.
Yeah.
But I mean, it happens. If you have a gun that's used, by the way, I mean, I would pay attention to that for sure.
Of course.
Now here's one of my favorite things about this little gun is that honestly, like once you like sort essentially your bullshit out, right, and once you have your training issues worked out on this gun, it performs very similarly to a Glock 19. It does pop a little bit more. But not much really because the recoil spring in it's a little more powerful than a 19. So it keeps it fairly flat shooting. I mean, you guys saw me shoot a 320, and then with this guy, even though it's a smaller gun, it's still cycling pretty close to flat in my hands. So I like the fact that it cycles as low as it does. I like the fact that it's a pretty smooth shooting gun, even though, it does pop a little bit more, but for its size, I mean...
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's like a Chihuahua or a Min Pin of a gun, dude.
Right.
Where, like...
They're both going to get the job done if you do your part.
Yeah, and it's a little gun that tries to act like a bigger one.
And sometimes it can. It can hang
Yeah.
with the big dogs.
I mean, like a buddy of mine that I used to go to classes with all the time. Like I used a Glock 19 as a primary concealed thing, and he was using a 26 with a Glock 19 magazine in it, and he just kept up. Like I would venture to say that he was just a better pistol shooter than me, because shot for shot we were even with each other on the
Right.
two different guns. And this is technically less accurate and all that stuff, but for pistol distances, it's almost irrelevant.
Yeah, no, you won't notice.
Yeah, I mean, 0 to 25, you should be doing about as well. You know, I mean, it's still a polygonal rifling. They still zing out of there pretty hard, so it's not.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the sight radius difference.
Yep.
Go ahead, pull yours out. So a lot of it, I would say, is not say the barrel length. It's actually that little bit of sight difference, which doesn't seem like a lot. Which doesn't seem like a lot, but it can be.
It can be, especially if you're trying to move a little bit faster, especially if you're moving under a flash sight picture. I will say, like, when I shoot a Glock 19 a lot, and then I go to this guy, they take the same sights, right? So there's no real difference in the size between the two. And these guys seem to obstruct the target just a little bit more. It's a little bit slower to get on target with and all that. So, I mean, the sight radius as far as, like, mechanical accuracy doesn't, in my mind, impede anything.
Right.
But because that front sight specifically, because that guy seems a little bit larger, it will slow you down a little bit, because they're running the same style sights, especially if you're going from, like, a Glock 19.
Okay.
You know, so, I mean, there's a difference here in that a lot of people that I know carry the 26 as a primary. Most people that carry Glocks around that I know of are walking around with 19s.
Yeah.
Some of them 17s, but the vast majority are the 19s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time I see the 26 regulated to something like a backup gun.
Yeah.
Which, okay, I completely understand that entirely. And I see this a lot too, where 26s are given like really high speed triggers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of 19s are run around bone stock because they shoot a little bit flatter. Which I get, you know, you're trying to compensate for your own flinch, but
yeah,
that's a training issue.
Well, then on the
everything.
19, you got a light.
Yeah.
That adds a little bit of forward mass, which...
And let's get to that. This does not have a light rail of any kind. There are a couple of companies that make lights that'll bolt to this, and that's fine. Me personally, if I'm walking around with it as a primary, I'm just going to carry around a handheld as a light and do this number. And also, if I'm carrying it around, most of the time we walk around like on the street, quote unquote, to where there's a lot of light pollution anyway, so you can still see like in that Walmart parking lot or whatever. Yes, I would personally rather have a light mounted to the gun, but it's just something that you're going to have to deal with. You know, I mean, if there was a capability to add a light to it, it would it would have a pretty big extension,
of course,
over the gun.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with lens, lens clouding and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because there is more unburnt powder, there is more concussion off of this pistol. It's just a fact. So I mean, me personally, I really like it, especially for like summer months. It's just less in the way. I can bend and I can do stuff, and like when it's really hot and I'm really sweaty, just having less gun there is just a little more comfortable. So I mean, that's me personally.
Yep.
If there's someone on the fence about whether or not they should get a 26 or whatever, what I will say is that if you are newer into guns, I would hold off. I would get a 19.
Yes.
Just because it's a little easier to shoot. There's more aftermarket stuff available, so you can get involved in all that. What I would also recommend personally is stippling it. The specific stippling that I did on this guy, like you can see these panels are stippled pretty good, and then you can see the front is not. Also, the back is not. Right. So the reason being is because it does pop a little bit more. There's a little bit of that grating that gets in there, and for the side panels and running all the way up the frame and stuff, it's more so that it's just consistent and I can hold that there. And the front and rear grip panels they have enough texture in them to where they grip, but they don't tear my hand apart.
Yeah.
Especially when it starts raining and stuff out here.
Yeah.
Like you guys see that it's pretty overcast. When we first got out here, it was raining fairly hard on us.
Like normal.
Yeah, usual. But I mean, there it is. Really, I personally really like the 26. There's some guys that do, there's some guys that don't, and most of that has to do with hand size, really.
Well, I mean, I have little tiny baby hands,
Mm-hmm.
and I like both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, even without the extension, He's just rocking, the 2 fingers pinky off pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little bit more up top,
Mm-hmm.
as long as it's, not too much one side. It's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
You can train out of it.
I mean, the principal complaint that I hear a lot about its concealability and stuff is that it conceals very, very, very well.
Yes.
And this can be dependent on certain holsters and stuff, but even certain holsters, like the one I have on from Smoky Mountain Concealment, I'm still gripping the gun like this, for the most part, like reaching over the top rather than getting a good starting grip like I would with a 19.
Yeah.
So I'm gripping over the top, and then when I yoke the gun out, I wrap the thumbs around.
That's
and
what I had to do too.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a training issue for sure, but it's one of those deals where that does turn some people off to where they'd rather just have a good grip on the gun, and I understand that.
Yeah, but then you're going to print more.
Yeah, and
So if
it's easier to conceal, but at the same time, you are going to have to deal with that slight modification in how you draw the pistol and then get it out there. To me, it's not very, very much of a big deal. It will slow you down a hair, but not a lot.
Yeah, but with more dry fire practice.
Yeah, a bunch of dry fire practice on light switches and shit, and you should be fine.
Yeah.
And just getting used to the larger front sight post in the flash sight picture, and it's good. I mean,
well, so my experience, I've had both. Eventually settled on the 19, the one you see me just pull out. And for me, I would still go with the 19. That's just personal. I like to have the option of the light. I do like the pinky on there. I can deal without it on the 26, but I do prefer it. And that's really it. They're both great guns.
Yeah.
But I settled on the 19, and I love it.
I mean, and it's still a Glock, and it's still going to be reliable and stuff. Just also understand this, because the gun is cycling under higher pressures, you're going to be changing out stuff more often. It snaps more, so therefore mechanical parts are getting worn a little bit more, but really that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the larger guns are more forgiving on their parts and stuff like that, but realistically speaking, of the small guns that are out there, it's pretty polite.
I like it.
Yeah,
in that regard, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty polite to you and stuff. And this is absolutely reliable because I took this gun to the Pat Mac course. I took this to a course with the Tap Rack blog people, and that was like a 400 round thing. A friend of mine used it. I didn't, but I still did a bunch of shooting with it then.
Yeah.
Pretty much every time I come out here, I do a bunch of concealed stuff and
Warm-ups.
Yeah, warm-ups especially, and do a bunch of training with it. So there's a few thousand rounds through this gun, and really it's a formality. I mean, unless there was some crazy thing that happened to it, but we know at this point that Glocks are reliable pistols.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I could have just done the shoot footage, and that would have probably just been it. But I mean, any gun that I have, there's a little bit of proof of concept that goes in there just to be sure.
Yeah. And then have other people try it too.
So, I mean, that's all I got, guys. I mean, what do you think about the 26? Because that seems to range quite a bit. Usually if it's the 19, people are just kind of, it's either I love Glock, I hate Glock.
Yeah.
But with the 26, there's a lot of guys that are like, yeah, I got toe thumbs for like fingers and huge hands, so I'm not a huge fan of the 26. Other guys are like, man, that's the best pistol ever.
Right.
Other guys hate it because they can't put a light on it, and the ones that they can put on are annoying as shit. Oh, and the holster selection for that is abysmal, so you know.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that there are guys that have lights on their 26s, so you can throw holster selections for that hookup in the comments below. I don't know because I didn't even try to look at it. So, but let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. I mean,
see what happens.
Yeah, see what happens. So if you guys are interested in training with us, we do have a few classes set up and all that. The schedule is up now, so we have ranging it through the year and what's available and all that stuff. So you guys can go ahead and pick through, like the home page has all the stuff that's available. Then if you go to the top right and click events list and just scroll a lot, you can find your date that you want. And like each class has all the information that you need on it, so we can pretty much go from there.
Cool.
But yeah, if you want to help us out on Patreon, that helps out our soldier training program. He's seen a few soldiers that have come through.
Yeah.
We pay for all of their stuff, like flight, ammo, all that stuff. So everyone who supports the Patreon is supporting that. And if you want to train with us as much as you want for a little over the cost of 2 classes a year, you can get on the $35 a month program for that. If you sign up with that, all you have to do is just let us know when you're attending certain classes, and we'll add you to the rosters. No big deal. And I see it as a giant, as a giant leap forward for like the freaks of nature that train all the time and stuff.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, because I know what it's like to have to spend $1 bajillion on stuff like
save,
that.
eat. ramen noodles, whatever, so you can go have some training.
Figuring out whether or not you were going to eat today or buy ammo.
Yeah, to do that a lot.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a huge thing that you can take advantage of. So I would suggest that if you're going to train with us a lot, do that.
Yeah.
And there again, you're also helping out the soldier training program. And if you want to join the discussion page on Facebook, I have a link for that also in the description below. So do what you got to do, guys.
All right.
And remember, it's nice to have you on.
Yeah, thank you.
And remember, you can get off the ammo can now.
Oh. Okay.
And remember, guys, a regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy. Fucking gnomes.